Hello, and welcome back to our Awakening Intuition video series where we pull oracle cards twice a month from my oracle decks Awakening Intuition and Grief, Grace, and Healing. Today we'll be pulling oracle cards for the first 2 weeks of May. Wow, it's when I thought that before I got on the video, I thought, wow, first 2 weeks of May. Okay, here we are. And the first thing that we do with these videos is we want to do a little intuition test with ourselves. So we're going to pull 3 cards that will give us some invitations to work with our self-love, our self-care, and our mindfulness practices for the first 2 weeks of May. And all 3 cards might resonate with you, but just to make it maybe a little more dialed into what's going to be going on with you in the first 2 weeks of May, right now we're going to test our intuition and ask your intuition to pick a number 1, 2, or 3. That number, 1, 2, or 3, might end up being the card that resonates for you most in the first 2 weeks of May and is the most helpful. So there's a couple ways that your intuition might give you this information. You might hear a voice in your mind giving you a number. That's the psychic pathway of clairaudience. You might see a number in your mind as a visual image. That's the psychic pathway of clairvoyance. Or you might just feel really pulled energetically to one of those numbers, 1, 2, or 3, every time I say it. You might get angel bumps, or the energy around you might feel really palpable, or in some way there's an energy change or a sense of being pulled to one of those numbers. So pause the video if you need to, get your number, and then we will go forward pulling cards. And there's one thing that we always do, or I try to do before we pull cards, is just do a quick recap from the last 2 weeks. You know, even doing a recap for the whole month of April, I felt like the 2 times that we pulled cards for April, for the first 2 weeks and the second 2 weeks, there seemed to be a lot of energy about grounding, and especially grounding into our own energy, kind of getting some time where you can think of things more from your perspective. You can be alone and really anchor into your energy, or, you know, not that you're not social or don't have work or lots of kids or things in your life, but having those moments where you can really come home to yourself felt very, very important for the month of April. And I think it was a busy month for a lot of people with a lot going on and decisions to be made, so that makes sense. Then for the last 2 weeks of April, the last time we pulled cards, the 2 cards that resonated most for me afterwards were the Say No with Love card from Grief, Grace, and Healing. That is where that card encourages you to say no in a healthy way and in a loving, diplomatic way to requests or people that it's just not a yes for you right now. So it was really interesting. The last 2 weeks of April, I got a lot of opportunities in big, medium, and small ways to say no with love. And mostly it went pretty smoothly. There was one time that I didn't say no with love, and then I kind of regretted it later. But it was interesting when I didn't say no with love and I went ahead and maybe went beyond my healthy boundary or what I felt like was the best for me in the situation. I ended up getting so many synchronicities around that event. That was another card we pulled for the second half of April. The cards indicated there might be a lot of signs and synchronicities for people in the second half of April. So that was interesting for me, because sometimes when you look back and say, I didn't really hold my healthy boundary, and in hindsight, in retrospect, I wouldn't have gone through that. But because I did, I got so much information and so many kind of mini lessons and so many signs and synchronicities. So perhaps I was meant to kind of go through that experience and learn a little bit of a tougher lesson by not saying no when next time I'm in that situation in the future, I will. So I hope the last 2 weeks of April were in some way healing for you. And I'm excited to pull cards right now for the first 2 weeks of May. And make sure you've got your number with your intuition. It's fun to pick that first. And we'll just do a little unboxing of Awakening Intuition, my oracle deck that has become so popular. I'm very grateful for that and very honored to be a part of it. It's got this lovely plush little velour, velvety kind of pouch it comes in, which is fun if you want to take it on vacation. You don't want to take the whole box. So as you know, I always encourage you to do your own pull method. There's so many ways to pull cards from an oracle deck, but I always show you my favorite pull method, which I'll explain again. And the first thing we're doing is we are just warming up the cards by holding them between our palm chakras and asking, you know, the angels, the guides, all the benevolent forces, and our own higher self for some lovely, hopeful, healing, powerful messages from this deck. So we're just going to warm up the cards between our palm chakras, set the intention. We get some nice, helpful messages for people watching this video. And I've warmed the cards off a little bit off camera too, warmed them up. And then, as you know, when I start shuffling, I'm looking for a card to really dramatically jump out and kind of stick the landing. Sometimes it's more subtle. I'll talk you through it as I'm doing it. And you might see a lot of cards jumping around, but I'm looking for one that kind of holds there and really lets me know it wants to be picked. So here we go. We're shuffling and we're holding to our intention to getting cards, or at least one really nice pull for everybody watching this video. And we've got a couple jumping up, but I haven't really seen one that I wanted yet. There we go. So we got one nice card that really jumped up and it just hung there for me. It let me know, Tanya, you've seen some cards flying around, but this one stuck up at least about 1.5 inches above the other. So I'm going to take that. That will be our card number 1 if you chose card number 1. And now we're going to do one more card and we'll see how this shuffle goes. Ooh, that happened really quickly. It's interesting. That's a little bit more of a subtle one, but it really hung there. So I kind of wanted to stop because I was going to shuffle again, but it hung there. And it even peeked out to the side a little bit. So I'm going to take that card as well. That's a nice message. That resonates with me. All right, so those are our 2 cards from Awakening Intuition. And remember, you really can't do a wrong pull method, because once you pull a card for yourself, you're going to use your own internal intuition to discern what this card means for you and get some more messages specific to you. So I'll show you how to do that after we pull our 3rd card, which is going to be from Grief, Grace, and Healing. This is a really special soft energy deck that is there for you whenever you're grieving a loss of any kind. It could be the loss of someone passing away or someone leaving your life, but it could also be a job or a career that you're leaving, or something that's changing with your body, or just, you know, that metamorphosis we go through so often in life where things change and evolve, and it can't even be something that's positive. You're going into a new career, a new relationship, but there's a sense of loss and leaving something behind. This deck is there for you during those moments when you're feeling more contemplative and need that kind of support. So I'm going to do just a little bit different shuffle method with this. We'll still hold it between our palm chakras and warm it up. And again, we're setting the intention that we get a nice... It's interesting. Last time we pulled cards in the second half of April, I heard ask for a powerful message clairaudiently. I just heard ask for a gentle message. So I think for some reason in the first 2 weeks of May, we're actually looking to maybe plug into a bit of a gentler energy, where the past 2 weeks of April were more of a powerful energy. So let's get a nice gentle card from this deck. That's a good deck to do that with because there's a lot of them. And then instead of shuffling the way I did before, we're just going to let the deck fall open where it wants to. This is really fun. Oh my goodness. This is kind of wild. And I'm excited. If you chose card number 3, we will that will be very interesting for you if you watched last week's video. I'm actually going to also pull the card. I'm going to do something different and special. I'm going to pick a 4th card. This is going to go with everyone, because sometimes after you pull oracle cards from a deck, you'll get a card that feels powerful or gentle or whatever vibe you're wanting. And this happens to me, you know, on the regular. You'll be putting the cards away, but it's the card at the very top of the deck that, as you put the cards back in the box, you think, Gosh, I think that card sitting on the very top is really resonating with me too. That happened to me when I was about to put these cards away. So we're going to have a fourth card that will apply to everyone, and it's a good message to apply to everyone. So if you chose card number 1, and remember, all of these cards might resonate with you, which is great. But if you chose card number 1, pay special attention to this message. It is open up to feel. So I'll read the card to you. Mindfully tuning into energy and emotions around you now is nourishing, whether it's the calming energy of nature, the inspiring energy of someone you admire, or the connection in intimately sharing someone else's emotional experience. It's safe, healthy, and healing to absorb in a balanced way. Bond with others and the world. Okay, I love this card, open up to feel. And if you resonate as a sensitive person, as an empath, this will be especially helpful for you. I think, obviously life is more subtle than this, but to explain it in a way that we quickly can, I think empaths and sensitive people who are hyper-perceptive and can feel the energy and emotions of other people in their system, energy and emotions of the collective in their own system as if it were their own, and sensitive people who are very sensitive to physical stimuli like noise and lights, and they like it a little softer, a little gentler. There's kind of two ways you can roll through life or any day or any situation. You can either kind of pull back and observe the world to protect your energy, or you can lean into that ability to feel with others and open up to it and kind of court that a little bit more. So there's no right or wrong answer. Sometimes you feel like you need to kind of pull back and observe. It's either more helpful in the situation or protective for you. And sometimes it feels like it's the right thing to open up and feel, whether what you're feeling is challenging or wonderful or neutral. So this card is suggesting that we can anchor our energy and still open up to feel in the first 2 weeks of May. And that might be particularly nourishing. I think what I'm hearing clairaudiently is for people who pick card number 1, or if this card's really resonating with you as I speak about it, you're going to want to feel connected in the first 2 weeks of May. It might really be nice to feel more connected with people. As the card said, it could be spending out time outdoors and feeling more connected to nature and opening up and absorbing that. We're in the Taurus season, so that would make sense, at least for the first 2 weeks of May we will be. And also you might just want to feel more connected to the world around you, whether it's the collective or people in your life, and it just feels nourishing to be a little more connected and intimate with people, and even allow yourself to open up and feel and absorb in a healthy way some of what's going on around you. And you can do that in a balanced way as well by recognizing, maybe I've had enough of that today, or I want to kind of pick a little mindfully what I want to absorb. But that's a lovely card for the first 2 weeks of May. And that feels really like a very soft and nourishing thing to do for some people watching this video. So you know when it's right to do that for you. If you chose card number 2, that's also a lovely card. Create open space. I think, again, empaths and sensitive people will like this card. Balance just being with doing. Emphasize arriving over striving now, giving to-do lists and goal setting a rest. When your schedule is very crowded, it crowds out your intuition. Create open space by squeezing minutes or even hours into your day with nothing pre-planned. Then let your intuition set the agenda. There's power in pauses. I think these two cards marry really nicely. One thing about being a sensitive person, and probably all the people watching this video are to some degree, is that it's wonderful to be hyper-perceptive and pick up on everything, yet it can set you up to more easily be overwhelmed and overstimulated. So I think what you are trying to do is create more open space where it doesn't quite feel so rushed. It doesn't quite feel so go, go, go. Not every minute is scheduled. The to-do list isn't really hanging over your head in an ominous way, so that you can have those nice moments of lovely connection with nature, with people, with a pet, with the collective even, where you can open up and feel and really be present to what's going on around you and absorb a little bit of it in a healthy way. So don't let your schedule crowd you out or crowd your emotional experience out, or your ability to connect with whatever you're wanting to connect with. So I think we might be wanting to feel a bit more in the first 2 weeks of May. And when we can slow down, we can do that. When we have more open space in our schedule, we can slow down and feel a bit more. There might be quite a lot to feel in the first 2 weeks of May, but I have a feeling for a lot of people watching this video, it could be really nice, soft, nourishing stuff. Now, this is so fun. Card number 3 is the card that we pulled for the last 2 weeks of April that was so important to me, Say No with Love. It's the card from Grief, Grace, and Healing. So if you chose card number 3, you chose Say No with Love, which was actually the card number 3 for the last video. And what's super interesting about this is when I was about to pull this card from the deck Grief, Grace, and Healing last time, I heard ask for a powerful card. We chose that card. This time, for the first 2 weeks of May, when I was about to pull that card, I heard choose a gentle card, and I pulled the same card. So I think what the angels and guides are wanting to show us is that this Say No with Love is both powerful and gentle, and you can kind of connect with it whatever way you want. It might have been that in the last 2 weeks of April, it was very powerful for some people to say no with love in ways that maybe were a little more dramatic or got a little more pushback, or, it took a little more courage to summon up that ability to say no. For the first 2 weeks of May, this energy feels quite gentle, and I was told to ask for a gentle card. So you can also look at this card as a way to be gentle with yourself, is what I'm hearing in my mind. So sometimes saying no with love is just simply a way to be gentle with yourself. It could be saying no to your to-do list, saying no to over scheduling yourself, and it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings, or it's not going to cause any drama, or you're not going to need any courage to do it. Saying, no, I'm not going to clean out the closet, this weekend. I'd rather go sit contemplatively under a tree and feel my feelings, or go out to coffee with a great friend, or, go play with my pet in the park. So in some way, in the first 2 weeks of May, we're learning to say no with love as simply as a way to be gentle with ourselves. And I heard it might even be a way to be gentle with others. When you say no with love in the first 2 weeks of May, see how gently and softly you can do that. If that's to a child or a pet or a person or even somebody in a business situation. So I'm going to go ahead and read this card if you're not familiar with it and you don't remember it from the last video, because it's a really cool card. Say no with love. Get clear on your authentic yes and practice saying no with love. Telling others no may create uncomfortable energy today, yet might save you time, stamina, sanity, or resources tomorrow. Set healthy boundaries with yourself and others now. Prioritize yourself while being considerate and diplomatic with others. You don't have to be everything to everyone. Conserve and protect your energy. And in the second half of May, I would say conserve and protect your energy, because there's going to be a lot to feel, a lot to open up and absorb with in healing, informative, even nourishing ways. And remember, last time it felt like this was a very powerful no, you might be saying, to people, things, places in your life. This time it feels like we're continuing that theme of saying no to protect, but now we're looking through the more gentle lens of it. How can we do it in a way to just simply be gentle with ourselves? And how can we say it in the most gentle way to people in our life? So that's lovely. And then the fourth card that I just really felt called to add, this is for everyone, is a lovely card that we've never talked about before. Trust yourself. Now I'll read this card to you. After a major loss, it can be more challenging to trust others, trust life, or even trust yourself. Yet you're a good person with strong inner wisdom. It's natural to be cautious, but trust yourself, as well as go to others for wise counsel. Consult your intuition. Mistakes from the past lead to better choices today. Trust is regained gradually. So this card is from Grief, Grace, and Healing. If you've had a significant loss or you're grieving one from the past, it could resonate in that way. If you're having trouble trusting yourself, it could be a nice nudge from your angels and guides that it's time to slowly practice trusting yourself more. And if neither of those is true for you, it might just be, look, trust yourself in the moment of when to absorb, when to say no, when to to create open space, you can trust that inner wisdom in the first 2 weeks of May to navigate this. And I feel it energetically with my clairsentience feeling psychic pathway. It keeps coming to me that we're wanting to court a very soft, gentle vibe for the first 2 weeks of May. And that makes sense because April felt like a very kind of intense month in good and challenging ways. So thank you so much for being here with me for our video reading. We'll be here with you again for the next video for the last 2 weeks of May. And I've gotten some really nice feedback from people about how much they're enjoying these videos and making them a regular part of their spiritual practice, their intuitive practice, their mindfulness practice. So thank you for being here. You can like the video or subscribe to the channel to help it grow and reach more people. Although I'm just so glad you're here. I'm thrilled you're here. I get so excited to do these videos. They're very fun and nourishing for me and informative for me. So in the next video, which we'll post around the 15th of May, we'll talk about how these cards resonated for me and maybe you, and we'll have fresh insights. Until then, I really am wishing you a very gentle, soft energy in May. And if you're curious about getting either of these decks or any of my yearly self-love calendar, my 9 spiritual books, or just getting on my newsletter, and you can get a free email from me once or twice a month, you can sign up for that in the, all that information is below the video. Thank you again for being here and wishing you a super, super gentle first 2 weeks of May. And if what's going on in your life isn't gentle or what's going on in the world isn't gentle, create those gentle moments for yourself where you can.